Well, ahoy there, mateys. We're going to do the last section of Chapter 8, which is 8.4. It's all about volume of rectangular prisms. Now, this whole chapter, we have been doing surface area. So all of 8.1 through 8.3 has been figuring out how many total squares there are on the outside of a shape. Volume is completely different. So I'll be right back. Just hang on there. Had to get a box of Ritz crackers here. So for 8.1 through 8.3, what you were doing is figuring out how much cardboard do we need to make this Ritz cracker box? What is the surface area of the box? 8.4 moves into volume, which is how many Ritz crackers can we fit inside the box? Okay, so 8.1 to 8.3 is all about the outside of the shape. 8.4 is all about the amount of space inside the shape. Now, volume is always measured in cubic units. It's always the number of cubes that can fill up a shape, no matter what the shape is. Just like area is always square units, no matter what the shape is. So, if you're a note taker, now's a good time to pause this and jot some things down from this here slide. Yeah, you can pause. All right. If you didn't pause, you're now on slide 3, which is our little summary. So for 8.4, most of the problems that you're going to be doing will use fractions. Okay, so if you need help multiplying fractions, make sure to see me or Mrs. Rude or somebody that you know that's an expert at fractions. I'll put this slide back up at the end of this video if you want to take some notes on that. We're going to go through the big ideas material right now. So the first thing is, when you hear the word volume, what do you think of? Most of you will think of like noise, music. So turn up the volume, perhaps. And that does have to do with the amount of space that the sound waves will take up in a room. In math, though, the volume is pretty much always cubic units. Okay, and it's always the amount of cubes that would fill up the inside of a shape. So figure out which of these are volume, and I'm just going to quiz you really quickly. So if you're wrapping a gift and you're using wrapping paper, are you figuring out the volume? No. For A, that's the surface area. What about pouring milk into a glass? Is that using volume? Yes. Yes, it is. Because the milk will fill up the glass. So it's the amount of space inside the glass. What about air needed to blow up a ball? Yes, that is also volume. It's the amount of air molecules filling up a ball. What about fabric used for making a quilt? No, just like wrapping paper, fabric used for making a quilt is area, not volume. And what about how much will fit in a suitcase? Yes, that one is also volume. It's the amount that you will fill the suitcase with. So again, anything having to do with filling up a shape is volume. If you're just talking about the area outside a shape, that is surface area. All right, so here are a couple of examples. You have done volume. You did this back in elementary school with rectangular prisms, and that's the only shape we're doing for Chapter 8. The trick is, because you guys are a little bit older and you've had practice with fractions, instead of just multiplying whole numbers like you did in elementary school, your answers will be multiplying fractions. So I will go through A with you, and then you're going to do B on your own. So to find the volume for A, you're going to multiply the length times the width. That will give you the area of the base. And then you'll multiply that times the height of 5/8. And that will give you the entire amount of cubes that will fill up that prism. So it's length times width times height. That's the formula. So it's 7/8 times a half times 5/8. Now, when you're multiplying, you generally will multiply two numbers at a time. So if it were me, I'd do 7/8 times a half. That's 7/16. And then I would multiply 7/16 times 5/8. And I would end up getting 35 128ths. And that cannot be simplified. Therefore, the volume of this shape right here is 35 128ths cubic meters. Again, it's the number of cubic meters that would fill up this box. Okay, your turn. Hopefully you have some paper. Figure out the volume of this cube. Each side is 3/2 inches, or 1.5 inches. So find the volume of this prism right here. All right, so it's again length times width times height. It's 3 halves times 3 halves times 3 halves. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So you could say it's 27 over 8. If you want to write it as a mixed fraction, 8 goes into 27 4 times. Sorry, 3 times. And then the remainder is 3. So 3 times 8 is 24, and you're left over with 3. So 3 3/8 cubic inches. So the units per inches are volume units, cubic inches. And you could put inch with the little 3 as the exponent if you want to write it that way also. Okay, now example 2 is a real life example. So we have a cubic foot of dirt, which weighs about 70 pounds. So first thing is we have this dump truck right here. It has a height of 4 3/4 feet, a width of 8 feet, and a length of 17 feet. So if it were completely full to the top, how many pounds would it weigh? The first thing you want to do is find the volume of dirt that could fill up this trunk. Okay, so what is the volume? You do length times width times height. You do 17 times 8 times 4 3/4. That ends up giving you 646 cubic feet. Okay, to figure out the weight, you would then multiply the cubic feet times 70 pounds per cubic foot. So some of your big ideas problems will then have you use the volume to solve another type of problem. In this case, we would do 746 times 70, and we find out that the entire weight of the dirt in this truck is over 46,000 pounds. Crazy. 22 tons. Okay, and some of your problems will involve you to taking the volume and finding a missing side. So here we have this tower that's 16 inches long, 7 inches wide, and we don't know the height, but we do know the volume is 1,792 cubic inches. So how would you find the height? Okay, in this problem, you would use division. You're going to work backwards using division. So one way to do this is to do 7 times 16, and then multiply that by h to get 1,792. So 16 times 7 is 112. You now divide by 112 on each side. And what do you get for the height? 16. So the height is 16 inches. All right, so that is what you'll be doing for 8.4. So some problems you'll be given the values, you find the volume. A few of the problems you'll have to calculate one of the sides knowing the volume. All right, so let's see here. Wait, what's happening? And yes, I'm just gonna go back to this last slide here. If you would like to take some notes down, go ahead and pause this video. Okay, this is loading for a while. So if you'd like to jot these notes, whoops, go back this slide. If you'd like to jot these down, feel free to pause the video and jot these down. And then the last slide is another example, just in case you want one more example before you start working on your big ideas. So this one, let me get that little thing out of the way. So the height is 4.5 meters, the depth is 2.25 meters, and the width is 3 meters. So to find the volume, you'd multiply them all together, and that is shown right here. So the final answer for this one would be 30 3/8 cubic meters. So that is basically 8.4. This is the last thing that we'll be doing before the test on Friday. There's also a chapter review that will be available Wednesday, I believe. So make sure to get some help if you need some help, especially with the multiplying fractions. See me during On Demand or send me an email or stop in and see Mrs. Rude at any time. Okay, good luck, Pirates. I will see you during our next live session. Arr!